What's going on, guys? Zero here from The Other Rejects, bringing you a tutorial on the next character that I will be bringing to the Legacy League starting tonight. The character that I plan on doing is a Blade Flurry Gladiator that will be utilizing the Bleed and Frenzy nodes included in the Gladiator tree. And what motivated me to do this build was doing the Prentice Manor map a few days ago, and I got a Marinastra to drop, which the hoopla about this weapon is that it counts as all one-handed melee weapon types. So you can use axes, or you can utilize the axe nodes or dagger nodes or sword nodes or claw nodes, which is huge. It's huge. Secondly, I was doing a talisman sacrifice altar the other night, and then it brought me to the Wolf King's lair, and after slaying Rigwald, I got his Rigwald's Command Midnight Blaze to drop, which adds a lot of flat physical damage, but it also includes 80% increased physical damage with axes, and since we will be dual wielding with a Marinastra, that's going to be a nice physical damage buff. And the reason why I chose Blade Flurry is because I played Blade Flurry on an assassin, except instead of just doing flat crit and physical damage, I did damage over time. However, I didn't use a Void Heart like I have right here. I'm sorry, if I used a Death's Hand, which gave me a lot of extra chaos damage. And basically what it does is you give a 30% chance to gain Unholy Might on critical strike, which you almost always do since you're a crit assassin. So that's 30% increased extra chaos damage, which is a huge buff since you're an assassin utilizing damage over time nodes with bleed nodes and chaos nodes. Moving on, the character I mapped out will be at 87 minimum. This is the tree that level 87 will look like. We will be playing Gladiator, picking up the life node from Oak, followed by the attack speed from Creighton, as well as the additional Frenzy Charge from Creighton, because the buff that the Gladiator gives, you get an additional damage when you reach maximum Frenzy Charges. So, utilizing Frenzy Charges, getting additional damage after getting to max Frenzy Charges is a big buff. Leveling up, we'll be grabbing these life nodes right here, followed by Master of the Arena, and then Art of the Gladiator, moving on to Dervish, picking up Golem's Blood and this Jewel Socket right here, eventually grabbing Savagery, moving on to grab Thick Skin, and then Herbalism. We will be leveling up the swords, so we will be picking up this Fatal Blade node before we pick up any of the other major weapon nodes. Jewel Socket here, Crit Chance nodes here, moving up to grab this additional Frenzy Charge right here, as well as Blood Drinker, grabbing these Intelligence nodes, leading up to this Jewel Socket. Eventually, we will be grabbing Adder's Touch and Soul Raker, but that's going to be when we have our Marinastra ready to be used. We will then move on to over here, grab this Dex node, follow up to Coordination, and then Blood Siphon. Grab this additional life node right here, pick up Willow Blades, and then move on to Sleight of Hand. By this time, we will be able to use the Marinastra, so I do recommend picking up Soul Raker and Adder's Touch. However, I would recommend Adder's Touch before Soul Raker, just because you get crit strikes, have a chance to poison enemies. They take poison damage over time, which is based off the physical damage that you inflicted the damage on. Moving on, we would come back over here to this side of the tree. If you need to pick up Life Leech, go ahead. If you need to pick up Mana Leech, pick that up as well, because you're going to need it. Move on, grab these Strength nodes, pick up Bloodless. Unwavering Stance is up for the debate. You don't have to, but it's something that I would recommend. If you don't want to get stunned while attacking, that's a very useful tool. Lastly, move on to Juggernaut, which gives you armor, life per second leached, and life. Lastly, Ambidextry, physical damage with main hand, 20% increase attack speed with offhand. Since we are dual wielding, that is a fat ass damage buff. Now, like I said, we're level 87, so that means leaves quite a few nodes that we can pick up. Splitting Strikes is a pretty big one. You get physical damage with axes and attack speed, as well as life leech and life leech per second. You can also pick up Blade of Cunning, which is attack speed, physical damage, and life leech. However, I think the biggest, most important node that you could probably pick up is Deadly Dilettante, or Dilettante. I'm sorry, Dilettante. I'm drunk. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's going to be 24% increased physical damage with axes, or with claws, daggers, and swords. So that is a triple physical damage buff using all 3 of those nodes. Since we will be using a Rare Astra, it's going to count towards all 3 of them. That is huge. Equipment-wise, some of it is debatable. An Abyssus I recommend because of the physical damage as well as the crit multi, as we will be a crit build. You don't have to, and it would be kind of tough to use this helmet because we are not a Slayer. We don't get the 50% reduced physical damage reflection taken. So if you can make it work, go for it. I hope to make it work. As you can tell, my character's name is Please Don't Fail. This is the first time I've ever used PoE Planner, and yeah. If you don't want to use this, then you can just use any armor-based helmet that has life, resistance, and armor. Basically, the basics. Everything else is gear that I currently possess. Abyssus is the one thing I don't have in my build, but all the other gear is copied gear. So like the amulet, you want to look for life, physical damage, resistance, crit chance, crit multi, any of those. Same with the rings, you want life, physical damage, resistance. This one has mana leech, so I don't need the mana leech node. And then physical damage, life, resistance, etc, etc. My boots have armor, life, movement speed, and resistance. Armor here, life, double resistance, and strength, since strength counts as an armor buff and a physical damage buff. And then I just have a shitty pair of gloves that I will be buying a new pair in the future. Just a life flask that can recover a lot of life in a short period of time. Lion's Roar for the additional melee physical damage. Taste of Hate, which is a retarded damage buff. That's 30% physical damage is extra cold, and that's going to be nice since we're already using Hatred. That's even more damage we'll be doing. You don't have to use a Silver Flask. You can use a Witchfire Brew, which I will probably be using. You can gain that level 21 vulnerability. They take more physical damage as well as dot damage. And since we'll be causing bleeding and poison, that's going to be a nice single target damage buff. And then you have just a Quicksilver Flask. You know, you can use it for immunity to bleeding or freezing. Belly of the Beast, lastly, that is up in the air whether or not we want to use that as well. You can be using Blade Flurry, melee physical, faster attacks, increased area of effect, and then your 5th link is either going to be increased critical strikes or crit multi, depending on what you need more. So if you need increased critical strikes, use that, but if you need increased critical strike damage, use that instead. Again, like I said, we are only level 87, so there are room for additions or improvements. Now, if I make any changes to the build, I will be doing that, and I will inform you guys later on this week when I make this video. Now, moving on to the Ascendancy class, Outmatch and Outlast is going to be the first node you pick up, mainly because it has the Frenzy Charge offhand, or I'm sorry, Frenzy Charge kill with main hand, Endurance Charge on offhand, physical damage, and then physical damage reduced taken while at maximum Frenzy Endurance Charges. Then you're going to pick up Gratuitous Violence. Attacks have 25% chance to cause bleeding, 30% increased damage against bleeding enemies, and then enemies explode, dealing 10% of their maximum life as extra physical damage. Pick up here, and then you're going to move Blood in the Eyes. Physical damage, cause bleeding, 6% reduced damage taken from bleeding enemies, 30% chance to attacks to maim, and then you have 30% increased attack damage against bleeding enemies, which is a fat damage buff. Lastly, Uber Lab Pain Forged, additional block chance if you were damaged by a hit recently, and then if you were not hit recently and you haven't taken damage, you gain 40% increased damage. So that's 40% increased damage all the time, so long as you have not been hit. So that's basically what I have planned out for my next character. I will be leveling him up within the next couple of days. By Thursday morning, I will have info on how the character is going. If it worked, I will let you know. If it didn't work, I will let you know why it didn't work and improvements I will be making to the character. For you guys, in case you want to try it out for yourselves. So until then, this is Zero from the other rejects. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week.